Greetings, it is I, Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to begin a new series of videos. Each one is going to be a mini-series of a couple of episodes. I'll see how many it takes, maybe 3, maybe 5, maybe more. But I'm going to be introducing you to the various collectible card games that have been out. Some of the more old ones, like Magic the Gathering, letting you know about them, explaining kind of the history, some of the rules, how to play them, maybe talk about a few of the cards that were out during it, and of course, moving on to the next one. So in this one, I've got the first one I want to talk about, Spellfire, Master the Magic. So, Spellfire, Master the Magic was released by TSR, the company that had been producing original Dungeons & Dragons and Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, and was based upon the Dungeons & Dragons world, of course. This was the second ever collectible card game ever released. It was released some months after Magic the Gathering. So it's taking Magic the Gathering's been released. This new type of card game has come up. This is the second one taking advantage of it. It was shortly followed a couple months later by Wizards of the Coast, the people that do Magic's second collectible card game, Jihad, which I will talk about in another mini-series like this one. So it was released in 1994, July of 1994 to be exact, and it used characters, locations, and items from the various D&D worlds. The major complaint that occurred during this time that was sort of the first turnoff was that it reused art from other TSR products. So all the art on the various cards is actually art from other Dungeons & Dragons products that were out during the time. The other major complaint that it had its own set of rules which were vastly different from Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering being the first collectible card game, the one that's really the only one out right now, it turned people off to playing this game. So you didn't really mimic what had been out before a couple months, and that sort of turned people off to it a little bit. So the first edition that was printed had 400 cards in it, and they came from Forgotten Realms, Dark Sun, and Greyhawk campaign settings. So each of those cards would be from one of those campaign settings. The set was sold in two ways: a double deck set of 35 cards each, and booster packs with 25 cards each. A little while after that, the second edition of the cards came out. Now, the second edition of the cards fixed some misprints, refined some rules, but it also replaced 20 cards from the set with 20 new ones. Now, it was soon after that their expansions, or as they called them, boosters, came out. 3 expansions, boosters came out over the course of the next couple of months. They were based upon more campaign settings: Ravenloft, Dragonlance, and another Forgotten Realms campaign setting. These were really well received, these sort of expansions based upon the different campaign settings, which is leading us into the third edition of the cards, which came out after that. Now, when the third edition was released, it saw significant rules updates and changes, refining a lot of what had been in the rules up until this point in time. It also saw a number of cards that previously had no real abilities, having abilities added to them, updating these cards. Some more boosters started coming out. In fact, 5 more boosters came out, or as I said, expansion sets. But these were not based around specific campaign settings. They were based around different kind of themes, though. Now, the final edition to come out was 4th edition, and it was in this red and black double set. So when the double boxes came out, it was red and black. And this new set had 520 cards taken from all the previous editions and any of the expansions that had come out till now. In fact, it had similar to what happened in 3rd edition, where there was a number of cards that got rules updates and refinements. 200 more cards in this set got rules updated and kind of re-evaluated and invigorated. Now, when we're talking about the double boxes, the red box contained a 35 card deck, and of course the black box contained rules and a booster pack from one of the boosters that were out at the time. This edition was marked with a lot of production problems because this was showing the back end of the lifespan of the TSR company. They had been suffering a lot, and even though there was some popularity to Spellfire, they were already kind of on their way out, and so it marred it with production problems. Now, there were 3 more boosters that were produced, expansions really, and unfortunately though, they were sold in pretty short supply, very low printings of them. They were of course very popular, but this was the end of TSR. It was soon after that Wizards of the Coast bought out TSR and basically purchased all of their products, including D&D and Spellfire. And effectively, the set was discontinued after this point in time. Up until this time, it had been printed in 6 languages, including Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, French, German, and of course English. It had 4 editions and had 11 booster sets, or expansions. There was an extensive number of products that were printed up until this point in time. Wizards talked about printing new Spellfire sets, new Spellfire products. But before anything got off the ground, the project was cancelled, and Spellfire never came out again. The last booster pack was released in October of 1997, a little more than 3 years after the first edition had been released of the set. So, that's it for today. I introduced you to Spellfire, and I told you the history of it, the various expansions and boosters that were released in it. Next time, I'm going to start going over the rules of Spellfire so that you can learn to play too if you want to find some of these old cards out there. It's a extinct CCG, but it is the second CCG that was ever released. So it's important to know your history and know where collectible card games, which are expansive now, came from. So if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe to support for the channel, the Empire, and the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you can always check out my Patreon, link to the description below. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.